Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are on the analyst desk, and we've had a switch around, and we are now joining Peke. We're not joined by Peke, we're joining him, because this is his desk now. He is actually taking it over. He is now the actual cool kid. So, unlike before when we were on the cool kid's desk, this time we did get Peke. He was our number one choice. Of course, we had Ocelot, and unfortunately, we had Aaron.
Yeah, it was unfortunate.
Sorry, Alvar, sorry.
So mean with him.
Someone had to have him.
We've got to be mean with Alvar. We know he's at home watching, so we had to get in there. But we've been asking questions back and forth across to Twitter, and Twitter have got questions for you. Who'd have thought it, hey?
I don't know.
Well, let's go to our first question then, from @MadsBinder. I have seen Wukong getting banned sometimes. Why?
Wukong is a strong hero. The thing he has is the ultimate gets tons of damage and CC at the same time after level 11. And I don't think he's worth a ban always, but only if you're planning to play some squeezes hero, because he can just do ultimate and kill you before you even touch the floor.
Okay, a little side question on top of that. If you were to run him, where does he run better, mid or top? Because we've seen him in both positions lately.
I think mid. Mid is really good. You can always farm freely and do even the wolves, but it depends. Like, you can play at top. It's almost the same, I think. You can always free farm. You only have troubles the first levels, and after 6 you're fine.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we saw you obviously running Wukong in Katowice as well. We've seen Giants running, I think, this tournament. Samux running in top
lane.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything particular? Because I think we saw him banned against Giants a few times now. I mean, is there any reason you would ever use a ban towards Wukong? I mean, he is a great initiator.
Yeah, that's the thing. They play with teleport, and it's really annoying when he has the home guards and just go base, teleport somewhere, and comes invisible with the ultimate. That's the best gank you can get. The best gank you can get.
You can't complain at that. Actually, I'm going to keep on to Giants, because I remember the Samux game, and it was against... who was it against? The one they lost, but Samux, you ran it on the top lane. And they had such a great team comp. It was against you, of course it was. It was your game. Yeah. And they were actually ahead in that game, quite a way ahead, in fact, for one point. I think it was like 4 or 5k ahead. And they had the perfect team comp team. And they never fought you as a team. I didn't understand why.
We had a kiting team, and Nidalee. She's the best. I split push and throw spears. I got really lucky that I hit all my spears at some point. Like, I remember I threw like 10 spears, and I hit. I even killed Jimbo and me. Like,
you did, yes.
2 spears in a row, like one and another one, and they couldn't control it. They were just lost. Wukong was trying to initiate, then just going to defend top, then moving around, and they couldn't get any engage at all. I think they didn't do any good team fight in that game.
We saw you in Katowice against, I believe it was a Zubu Frost, and you didn't miss very many spears that game on the Helis on his Amumu. Do you want to go ahead and go to another question? Moresome? Oh, that's the kind of, I can't read it. It's really interesting. But who's the strongest mid player in Europe and North America right now to you?
That's a tough question.
And I don't think you can include. You can probably include yourself.
Let's start from America. From America, it's hard to tell because I didn't watch it, but I guess like Curse are looking really good. Nwajaki is playing really good with the team. He does really good in the mid. Never lose her, at least. He's always equal or ahead. And then as a team player, he has a lot of coordination with his team. And from Europe, I will say Froggen. Froggen is always really hard to lane against. He always knows what to do. He always knows what to do. Except that misclick from TF, but besides that, he does. Except that, he does always fine.
And keeping on that same vein, how do you think the European and the North American mids compare to one another? Because I know it's always been said, Europe has a lot of strong mid laners.
Well, I don't really know the difference. I think Americans are more passive as well. They farm. They never try to take advantage, while we are more sneaky, like trying to get kills somehow, roaming around, and that's the only main difference I see.
But you could surely say the same with Froggen. He farms.
Yeah, he farms, but he's as well farming, but he's not gonna lose the chance of trying to get a kill or move around or trying. You see, he farm, but he's always trying to do something as well.
And throw in another question in there. What about the Asians?
The Asians. Well, the Asians mid, I don't think they are that great. They are good for sure. They farm, they do what they have to do, but it's mostly with the Asians. It's mostly a team play. They have 5 good team members on the team, and you cannot just beat one and the other 4 will carry him. That's the thing. They're all good in the team. They're all good team comps. So, Jason, I believe we have one more question.
Yeah, we do. It's from @BexterHulkface. That is an interesting Twitter name, probably a lot better than mine, though. Who's your favorite champion to commentate on or play?
To commentate on play? Well, I don't know right now, actually. I guess
probably Kassadin after that backdoor.
Yeah, like Kassadin for sure. It's really cool to watch him, but yeah, either Kassadin or or Lux or Nidalee, something like that that can make big plays.
Something you like to hear, ooh, from the commentator's desk when something happens.
Saying, ooh, something like that.
Well, I mean, everybody likes seeing the big damage champions. Obviously, the Nidalee Spears always brings out the thing, and everybody goes, "Oh, I don't know why you're always so surprised by it." It's great to see the hit points just go.
Yeah, you never expect that when the guy's full HP and he just dies.
Yeah.
How could that happen? That shouldn't be possible.
It feels good as well when you hear that.
When you hear it, the best is when you don't see it, you throw the spear and then you hear the. You're like, okay, we won this fight. Let's go. We can fight now. We won it.
So, I mean, is there anything that you've really been surprised by in Season 3? Anything you'd like to see maybe changing in Season 3?
Yeah, I think after watching that game, the last game I was watching with Quickshot, the fight at top lane, and we're like, man, they are not losing any HP. They are hitting each other and they're both full HP.
Two greased up fat ladies, I believe they call them.
I think Warmog should be nerfed.
That's hot.
Like, it's not that it needs a nerf, but it makes the game really boring to see two guys with 4,000 HP not dying at all.
So do you think it needs, more gold put onto it? Because, I mean, they've obviously already added the regrowth pendant, one more in there. Do you think it needs something else? Maybe
reduce some HP or the health regen a bit or something.
Take it away from 1,000.
I believe they did nerf the regen. It was 1.5%, now it's down to 1, if I'm not mistaken.
It's 1 to 1. Okay, but they still need to nerf it a bit more. They just remove it. Will make the game more fun.
I mean, the fact that everybody's building it still is obviously saying, okay, it may need a little bit more. What do you think, knocking it down to 750 hit points, something like that? I mean, if you get, 700's the frozen mallet straight away.
Yeah, if you put it a bit lower, that at least people will think to get the frozen mallet instead of that. That's
just change it up a little bit.
Nerf it a bit, so people don't buy it first item on top laner. They do Warmogs on fire every game, so...
Actually, I think, Demon, I have one more Twitter question, actually. I was looking through it real quick, and it's actually really good, because you were mentioning it earlier, when you guys do scrims and you lose against a team, you don't get angry. You look at it and you try to learn from it. And it's a question from at the Eldest Hill, and it's, what's the best tip you have for non-pro players? Because, we have a lot of teams who are going to be coming in mid-season to try to fight for their own chance, and it's a good thing to give them some advice from a professional player yourself.
Well, you got to enjoy the game a lot. Even when you lose, you got to try to not get mad and think, okay, I'm going to take the best from this and improve. Just got to try to enjoy everything. Even when you lose, got to try to think about why did you lose, what are you going to do better next game, and why you want to play more. So
okay.
I think that's the best. Just not going to get mad.
And one of the things that I always noticed, certainly in the live qualifiers, was you will see the top solo players, and I guess, we could talk about it with the Frellenlord, the king is back. The top solo players, that how they transcend into becoming top team players. And, the fact that you look at these collegiate teams, I'm thinking certainly from American perspective, they have these great teams that come through. We also had, I think it was one of the top normal 5v5 teams that they played 3,000 games or something crazy like that in normal. And they went in towards the ranked, and they just flew up just to qualify. I think they went 18-1 and qualified straight through. But they didn't get through because they didn't quite have the teamwork that you guys have. What is it really that steps that teamwork apart? Is it simply just hours and hours of practice?
Yeah, you need to practice against other teams. If you can practice against someone that is better than you, that's even better, because you're going to learn way more. When you're just playing solo queue, you might improve a bit your solo queue skill, not your mechanical skills, be a bit better, but then when it comes to team play, it's totally different. You can be the best one in solo queue and the worst one in a 5v5 game.
And how do you think the European scene, and I've leveled this at the American scene, and I've always said to them, I don't physically understand how the American scene can actually be behind Europe, because the fact that there is a massive language barrier in Europe. We have, I don't know how many countries are in the whole European nations, but there's a lot of them in this area, and there's a lot of different languages. English is not, it is the primary language, but not everybody speaks it. For example, we have the Copenhagen Wolves now. They're going to have a German coming into it. They do actually have transcended into English now that Kautard joined them, but they used to speak all Danish before that. Yourselves, obviously you've been in Spanish teams before, no doubt. Spanish is your main language. How do you find it in Europe, the fact that there are so many different languages when you have to find these players? You may find this guy that's absolutely godlike at, say, jungle or top, but he might not be able to speak English.
You gotta teach him to speak English. Well, that's the thing. When we first joined our team, before we were even Fnatic, I didn't speak English pretty much. I just knew how to say, let's go top, let's go bottom, and go back and go in. That's what I was saying to my team. I didn't need any more than that. I knew what to do. I could write, and during the game I was just talking important stuff, nothing else.
Well, I mean, that may well actually bring us into the smart ping feature that's coming out shortly as well. You might be able to... That helps out. I mean, obviously you've seen it yourself. You've seen it in action. But, I mean, things like that is going to transcend and help the game progress?
Yeah, it's going to help you. Like, people that don't speak any English at all, they're going to be able to communicate with their teammates.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to head over to Joe and Quickshot because the next match is about to get underway. It's going to be Gambit taking on the Copenhagen Wolves.
Thanks a lot, guys. And as you said, Gambit versus Copenhagen Wolves, an amazing game, hopefully, on paper. We've got a few little pointers, which you keen-eyed guys over on Reddit, I'm sure, have already heard about there as well. But the real story about this one is that Copenhagen Wolves, they're 0 for 2, right? Sorry, 0 for 3, right at the bottom. I almost forgot about that loss yesterday. Which means, they're rooted to the bottom of the European LCS. They've got a lot of work to do. And that work hasn't got any easier today.
No, not at all. Unfortunately, during the early hours of last night, there was an incident here in Cologne. The Tess was mugged and assaulted. And because of the physical repercussions, because of the stress, and it's not pleasant, he is unfortunately stepping out for this particular matchup. But Copenhagen Wolves, they've got somewhat of a superstar joining their ranks for the matchup.
Well, that's the problem here, that they've got a superstar in terms of solo queue. They've got Pharrell Lord. He had the highest elo in the world in Season 2. But in terms, as Demon rightly pointed out there, in terms of team play, he doesn't really have anything to say, I am number one in the middle. And
it makes life even more difficult because this is a team that's been practicing and scrimming and training together. They've been waiting for a substitute in terms of their mid player. They're now getting another substitute in terms of their mid player because I believe Pharrell Lord is going to be playing mid, and I think Kautar is going down to AD carry. So it's a very difficult thing to deal with, especially in this position. I believe we do have the head-to-head graphic coming up. So let's take a look at both of these teams and their rundowns.
Yeah, so of course for Gambit Gaming, they're with their original 5 here today. Darian in that top lane, Alexic in the middle, Genja and Edward as the AD carry and support, and of course Diamond in the jungle.
And of course for the Copenhagen Wolves, it is Godbro, Kautard, Lord, Deficio, and Sven Skeren.
Yeah, and that's the real thing that we just don't know how Copenhagen Wolves are going to really adapt to this one, to be honest with you. I was talking to them a little bit earlier on about this whole switch, Kautard going to AD, Lord coming into middle. Obviously Lord's got a good repertoire of champions, some which you can definitely consider ban-worthy. His Twisted Fate is obviously a big one in there. He can play a great Orianna. He's played a lot of Ahri, played a lot of Anivia. This guy knows how to play those solid AP champions in the middle. But how is Kautar going to go into the AD? Because I've heard that he can pretty much only play Caitlyn and Graves.
Well, we'll see how that plays out. That means he at least has 2 different options for that role. I'm thinking back to Lord's Ahri from the Warsaw qualifiers, and it was terrifying. He is so scary and so difficult, or so great at that champion. Let's have a look at the rest of the Copenhagen Wolves players and highlight the specific mention that we got yet. It is going to be Deficio on support. He is the team manager, and we said this, I think it was earlier, yesterday or last week, his own team members made a bit of a joke and called him the noob on the lineup. And there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders in that support role.
Well, that's the thing. He's almost got to be one of the biggest rocks in this team now, because he's got to make sure that Kautard stays safe, doesn't make too many mistakes in that new role that he's been forced at the end of the day to play today. You've got Pharrell Lord in there as well. Fisher actually shouted at me yesterday, by the way, for saying he was noob. I was only quoting what his teammate said in that video, so I set him right on that one.
We'll see how he's going to play. He's played Lulu twice already, one Sona game as well. So in terms of his support players, the champion pool, Lulu is a great champion to protect your carry. The shields, the movement buff, the wild growth. So, pairing up with Kautar, if Kautar does overstep with Graves, uses their quick draw, potentially you could have Deficio saving him in this regard. So we'll see which champion he is going to bust out to complement his brand new AD carry for this matchup.
So we're talking about the team here that's obviously 0 for 3 in the standings. Let's take a look at their opponents. Gambit Gaming, formerly known, of course, as Moscow 5, and even before that as Empire, you may remember them there. And we've again highlighted the support here, Edward, formerly known as Gosu Pepper. Now, he actually said in the pre-game here when the players were joining, welcome to the bottom lane, Kautard. Now, Edward is a very scary player to go up against. He's so aggressive. He's probably one of the more aggressive supporters out there. He's got Genja with him, who's in the recent months, obviously, Intellectual Master Katowice looked very aggressive there as well. So they could, I mean, from Gambit's side of things, they could really be thinking in this game, okay, bottom lane is somewhere that we can really put the pressure on. You know, middle lane, you're on your own, obviously,
you're in a
before the
island.
junglers come out there.
Yeah.
But Forellenlord should be able to handle that one. He's played against Alex Ich before, but this bottom lane is a different thing. It's 2-on-2 down there, 3-on-2, or maybe even 4-on-2 if you get a little bit unlucky. And I think that's the point that Gambit are really going to be looking to utilize in this game to say, bam, you're dead.
Yeah, so true.
More than once.
You know, I'm looking at his stats as well here for Edward. He's played Sona twice, Lulu once. An average KDA of 13.5 on his kill-securing Sona, which is something that he's particularly famous for, and a KDA of 9 on Lulu. It's one of the highest KDAs of the entire European LCS is Edward's, champion in roster pool. And exactly like you said, he's a menace, he's a terror to behold, and I would be very nervous for Kautsard and Deficio coming into this extremely seasoned bottom lane of Gambit Gaming.
And that's the almost sad thing for them with this, how this has all gone, is that they're already 3-0. They've got 2 games to play today. These were the 2 games that could have propelled them back to a bit of confidence, sitting at 2 for 3 rather than maybe 0 for 5 at the end of the day if things don't go their way. This is one area of the game that we've not really touched upon as of yet. The jungle, of course, with Diamond Prox in the jungle for Gambit and Svenskeren for Copenhagen Wolves. Now, both players highly experienced. Diamond, certainly in terms of offline events, has a lot more experience in that position. We'll see how Svenskeren's going to do in this one. For me, he's not been bad whatsoever in the games we've seen from him. The Cho'Gath knockups in the last game yesterday against SK they were spot on the entire time.
You know what? They were in control of that matchup for the majority of the early and the mid game, and it was only after that really one big engage from SK Gaming on their own steps on the inhibitor turret that turned things against them. You know, Svenskeren's Choke played it twice, has been very good. His early ganks, I've got to admit, were not the strongest. You know, the very first few times he showed his presence on the map, he didn't really pick up any kills. But as soon as it got to those team fights, he landed rupture after rupture after rupture when he needed to land it in those pressure situations. So I want to see if they're going to play, if he's going to play Cho or something like that. And of course, Diamond Prox, he's played Bears, he's played Vi, he's whipped out the volley.
He's actually got pretty much an all-animal lineup in the jungle. He's had the bear, he's had the other bear, the man bear pig, Udi. He's all about the animals in the jungle, Diamond. So we'll see what he pulls out here for this one today. But first of all, before we get into the Champions Select, let's have a look and see what both teams had to say about each other coming into this match.
I knew Wolves when they got XL winner there because he was subbing for us sometimes.
They're really aggressive and they're really good strategically.
It's the team that can rock, but still they got a lot of weaknesses.
You never know what they're gonna do.
I think that maybe with Bjergsen it will be harder to win.
I don't really fear their laning phase. I don't fear them one-on-one, but I feel like their whole team game is so good.
So we heard it there. Bjergsen may have been the key to that one. They've got Forellenlord this time around. He's not a bad player by any means. He knows how to do the business in that middle lane. The question is, how does it really match up on the whole team play side of things? Because we know that you can have the best player in the world standing in any team, and it doesn't mean that they're going to win games. They have to slot in with the rest of the side as well. What
they do have to their advantage, though, is if Forellenlord does get a leg up and does start to get an advantage in that middle lane, picks up some kills, picks up a farm advantage or something similar, that can snowball to the rest of the lanes. Mid lane in particular, if you get an advantage or you have a champion with good pushing power or good roaming ganking power, you can go and help the rest of your lane. So in this situation where you've got a brand new AD carry in the form of Kautsard, you've got Forellenlord in that mid lane, that solo queue mentality may work out for them. It's a possibility, but it's going to be up to them to make it happen because Gambit, they're not going to give up any free kills. They're not going to let themselves fall behind.
See, that's one thing I'm not sure about this game. It could go, in my opinion, one of two ways. That Gambit are going to absolutely stomp them and they're not going to have any chance whatsoever. Or Wolves could pull out something a little bit special, a little bit unexpected and catch Gambit off guard because they've got that standing, and they've already got a standing before the standing came in. They've lost the main AD carry for this one. It's a mess of a time for Copenhagen Wolves, not before even mentioning their standing in the league. They're against Gambit, one of the teams that you're expecting to do well and maybe up there in the Season 3 finals even by the end of the year. So they've got nothing to lose in this game whatsoever.
Yeah. You know, put it all out there. Just go with that cheese strategy. Go with the brave picks. Go with the slightly off-the-wall composition because, you know, there's nothing to lose. Picks and bans already underway. Elise Needley and Caitlin removed for Gambit. I wonder if they heard the comment or maybe they've done some research into Coulthard. We may see a Graves coming up for the Copenhagen Wolves.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see Graves first picked in for this one just to stop that from going away. If what they told me earlier wasn't just trolling. Rise, Xin Kha'Zix. Rise obviously aimed straight in towards Alex Ich. Xin Zhao aimed in towards Diamond and not falling for that Teemo pick as a first pick just yet. And Kha'Zix, of course, he is still very, very strong. We saw Darian on him yesterday as well. Still a brilliant champion to ban.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, Darren eventually found his stride very late in his matchup yesterday, finally going very, very brave with their Kha'Zix. Took a long time to get into that situation, a long time to find their rhythm. But once they did, they just started tearing people apart. Edward has secured his Sona, so, you know, going to his, you know, probably the most famous champion that he has played. And yesterday, again, on point of those crescendos. 3-man, 4-man crescendos, completely locking up the Giants and just playing really, really well.
Right now, Wolves hovering over Vi. We've seen him have some games that have made a big impact, some others that haven't really made that big of an impact, but we know that if you get into the right place, especially early on, you can really carve out a lead for yourself with the power of Vi early on. And a Shen as well, which is one of the champions which usually, if he gets through the banning phase, will make an appearance in the picks.
Now, I stand to be correct on this, but I think this was the same combo that SK Gaming ran on their very first matchup against the Wolves, when it was Shen in the top lane by Kevin facing off against Godbros Needley, and they had Hercubot with Vi in the jungle.
Yeah.
And, you know, just that combo of having Vi dashing in there with their ultimate, that assault and battery, having Shen come down on top of her, and just after you slam somebody into the ground, taunt them up, and you've just got like the AD carry or the AP champion completely shut down for such a long duration of time. The question is then, after that happens, how does Pharrell and Lord or Coulthard back up? Because they need to get those damage dealers onto the carries that get locked down.
Well, right now we've got a volley bear in there. We've seen it already from Diamond. Like I said, he's a man of many animals. Obviously, he loves his animals in that jungle. We'll see if he continues and keeps that one in there for the lock. And what are they going to go for the AD carry? That didn't seem like... you know, they were talking about not hovering over anything, then it's like, bam, Cogmore. That's what we're going for. Cogmore. Sorted. That'll be locked in, obviously, with the Sona in that bottom lane. I say, obviously, could end up being an AP Cog in the middle lane. Don't think we'd really see that out of Alex at this stage, but it's always an option anyway, and there's the volley bear lock.
We also know Genja as well is such a strong Cogmore player, and looking at the lineup of both Shen and Vi, the longer this game goes, that, you know, percentage HP-based damage is just going to make him more and more powerful the longer the matchup goes.
Yeah.
I am a little bit nervous for the match for this particular lock-in though, because of the diving power of both Vi and of Shen. If they decide to pick on either Genja or Edward's Sona, they don't have any inherent escapes. They don't have the ability to get away. There is no, you know, Knight's Caliber net. There is no quick draw. There's no arcane shift from some of the other AD carries that we've been seeing of late. And, you know, Gambit are going to really make sure that they are in the right positioning for any and all engagements so that they don't get caught out and blown up very quickly.
And the picks coming in for Wolves, called it earlier on, Graves. Caitlin's banned, he's going to pick Graves, and that looks like exactly what Wolves are going for. They weren't trolling me early when they said that Coulthard really only has 2 champions up his sleeve for these games that they have to play today. That Zyra obviously could be Graves' support, could also be with Pharrell and Lord in the middle.
Yeah, so true. You know, the option is there, the possibility is to go elsewhere, and Wolves are they're not showing their hand. They're going, look, we'll pick this champion that we can move around, Edward with his typical troll picks, and they're just going to wait to see what Gambit lock in here and allow themselves to either counterpick this mid lane and give the Zyra Graves bottom, or, you know, say, look, you know, Zyra's a fairly safe mid laner. She's got the ability to farm from range, has got, you know, great CC to both avoid ganks and set ganks up if some ganks come in from Vi, for example. So there's some great possibilities there. If we're going to be very honest as well, there's even the possibility of seeing Shen in the jungle and Vi mid. I mean, that's not entirely out of the question. We've seen Shusha running Vi at the Warsaw qualifiers. it's not 100% likely, but the possibility is there, and it's going to be for the Wolves to decide where they put each of these champions.
We also have Renekton open, which we have been seeing coming out of Darien recently as well. They've currently got that Vladimir in there that could be in the middle, or now it's going to be in the top lane if that Kassadin does get picked up here for Alexic. So going with that double AP comp, what are Wolves going to finish off with here? Twisted Fate is one champion that Lord really loves to play. A lot of teams will use a ban to get rid of a Twisted Fate. A Diana, interesting.
Diana's another champion that he does very well with in the solo queues and on stream. A very aggressive champion, especially the way you tend to build Diana, building a lot of that armor up early, working towards that Zhonya's Hourglass, and with her Pale Cascade, the shield that she gets, it's just huge. Going to be able to dive into a fight. If she does decide to go very aggressive onto Cog or, Kassadin, she can chase as well. There's going to be multiple charges of that Lunar Rush as long as she can continue landing this Crescent Strike. You're not going to be able to Rift Walk away from a Diana because she's got the ability to stick to you. Exactly.
Yeah, and that may be what they're going for with this one, being able with Shen, with Vi, and with Diana to really get into the back of them. Zyra, in the meantime, knocks him up to stop them fleeing away. And it looks like that is what Wolves are going to go for. So we've got our two teams here. Who do you fancy in quick shot? Who do you think's got it?
It's really difficult to call because I think the longer this game goes, the better the chances are for Gambit Gaming. I feel their teamwork, their cohesion, and just simply the composition will just scale so incredibly well. The one thing that is very scary for them is the mid-game phase. Once the towers go down and you have Shen, Diana, and Vi diving onto either Kog'Maw or Kassadin and sticking to them, or even Volibear. I mean, if Diamond Fox uses that rolling thing and tosses somebody back, Shen and Vi are just going to love that. They say, thank you for that. We don't need to burn our flash to get in range, and all of a sudden we're there. So it's a bit of an interesting pick to see how it plays out. And if you were looking at the faces there of the Wolves, there was big smiles on Deficio and Kautzard. They look happy. They look relaxed. Considering the circumstances, it's really great to see them coming in with a really, energetic sportsman disposition.
Well, that's what I said. They've got nothing really to lose in this one. Yet it would have been a different scenario, different mindset if they had the test for these games today. As I said, unfortunately, because the circumstances isn't with us, and they've got Lord in there. We know he's good with Diana. We know he's got a good repertoire. He's just got to come here and turn on the style 2 games in a row to help Wolves along the way. But Gambit, they've been upset already here in the European LCS. They've lost to Giants, which we call it an upset because on paper Giants weren't supposed to win that game. They did, however, win that game, and that still leaves a little bit open for Wolves, in my opinion. That still allows them to have that thought of they're not 100% still, they're not on top of their game, and that means that we could get in for something.
Find that little weakness and exploit it. That's what the Wolves need to do here. And, Lee and D-Man has kept referring to Gambit as the Russian overlords. And we'll see whether or not this matchup puts these Danish puppies into the Wolves that, their namesake. Will they be able to pull ahead? So defensive starts at the beginning, a number of pings coming up from the Copenhagen Wolves, spamming both of the entrances to their Wraith camp as well as their blue buff, and it doesn't look like we're going to have any early aggression. Teams playing really safe and controlled in these early stages.
Well, looking down the summon spells, are a couple worth noting here. Darien on Vladimir has that ghost in, which we see mostly on the Vladimir, but a flash as well. So really got that movement speed plus the ability to escape, or even get in there to get the ulti down and what have you. Genji also opting not for a flash, but for ghost and cleanse, so that he can move away quickly and also cleanse anything off coming his way. Edward picking up the ignite. Well, I mean, he is, as I said, one of the more aggressive supports. He likes to secure kills. He loves to secure kills more than anyone else in the world. So we'll see if that helps him do so. Can we expect anything here at level 1, though?
Well, there's a huge amount of wards in the back pockets of the Copenhagen Wolves. You can see down the line, mid, top, and bottom laners have all picked up some vision wards there, just to make sure that any early ganks from Diamond Procs will, be met with nothing. They just want to make sure they know when that teddy bear is running into their lane and don't allow themselves to get caught out. The Wolves are coming into this lane just to disrupt the double golems, preventing both Genja and Edward from getting the level 2 very early. They pretty much just show their faces and back away, so they don't take the golems for themselves, but at the very least they interrupt Genja and Edward. And it's good to see a little bit of planning and some thought going into that. Kautzard going from the mid lane to the AD and saying, well, this is what we want to do at this very early stage of the matchup.
Well, in the jungles, we saw Svenskeren there starting off with his blue, going to be going smiteless for that one. Diamond, same thing over on his side of the map, so nothing really new there. And the question, like you said, is how are they going to be able to handle, I think, more Edward than Genja in this bot lane. I think that's the really important part of that one. Middle lane for Ellen Lord coming in. Does, in the end, get himself to play in Season 3. Obviously, didn't quite make it there with alternate, but he's managed to sneak in as a substitute here, which I guess is fitting for a guy who had the highest elo in the world in Season 2, that he should be involved in some way, shape, or form. We just weren't going to have to wonder how he's going to do.
And what an awesome place to display, you know, your individual abilities. See if you can actually get ahead of Alexic, arguably one of the best AP mids in Europe. We were talking about this bottom lane very briefly, and I just want to quickly talk about how they can handle Edward. It's really going to come down to Deficio trying to catch them out. Kaltod being a little bit out of position there. You can see being chased away, forced to run a super long way around. He does manage to quick draw over the wall and save some time, but if Deficio can catch either Sona or Cogmore, you know, in these early stages, once there's a little bit more attack damage on Kaltod's Graves, they can burst them down very, very quickly. The taunt comes out and Darien just pulls away underneath it.
And that's the annoying thing about going up against a Vladimir. You can avoid so much by just pulling away and avoiding any CC that you can throw down onto him. You can see in this bottom lane, a pink ward was used by Edward just to clear out the vision that Wolves has stuck down in this top side brush, and that's just going to allow them to really zone this Graves-Zyra combination out completely. They've got the sustain in there as well, of course. Genja going to be getting those heals out from Edward, and that should keep them really safe and should give him a brilliant laning phase here. One thing that Kaltod needs to do is just die as less as possible and farm as much as he can whilst being, no doubt, zoned the entire time. Yeah,
it's so true. You know, Kaltod now, he's going to be under a lot of pressure on this bottom turret. Farming underneath the turret, he's only got that long sword in his back pocket. He's Svenskeren trying to set up a gank on Alexic, but the Moonfall doesn't land.
Here we go then, Svenskeren coming in. Can they get this first blood? Alexic forced to flash away. Obviously, only level 4, doesn't have that Rift Walk to keep him safe. Now Frelnlord is actually still fairly low, down to half HP in that middle, and we've got Diamond waiting in the wings here to maybe try and get in for a bit of a sniff of the action, but as you see, Wolves just back away. Diamond gonna hit his recall, and he'll be headed home. Frelnlord actually tries it there in the middle of the lane, which Diamond's gonna say, nope, not just yet. I'm going to stop that from happening. But no first blood up until now, which an encouraging sign, I guess we could say, for Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, they haven't given up anything, but this bottom lane is really being pressured hard. They have no more potions available. They have no way to get the health back that they've lost. And Genja and Edward, other than being 50% of their mana pool down, they have lost practically no HP. Genja takes a little bit of poke there from the minions, but the range on that Bioarcane Barrage and the amount of poke that Edward is putting down, there's just no reply from them, no response. They need to be a little more aggressive. They need to get some damage down, and hopefully, with maybe some help from Svenskeren here, pick up a kill, because, a 16 CS deficit at 5 minutes does not bode well for Kaltod.
And every time he tries to come from, anywhere near the front of the tower, they're just going straight in onto him. Don't mind to take one turret here, one turret here, there, one turret here, one turret here, there. Yeah.
Here a turret, there a turret.
That's the real problems. We can see Edward again going straight underneath the turret. And we actually seen Kaltod go back as Svenskeren comes over to cover. But Kaltod will be thinking, oh god, finally I've got a Vamp Scepter. I can actually heal myself up a little bit under the tower now.
And he's going to be, going to be forced to continually last hit to keep his HP up, which means his lane is going to start pushing. You can see already he's going to start overstepping his safety zone right now as Cogmore's picked up a Vamp Scepter and the Cloth Armor as well, which is very, very key. The amount of burst which Graves can put down is very, very high. So by picking up that Cloth Armor, it negates the only weakness that his lane currently has. If Kaltod's buckshots and collateral damage doesn't drop him low enough to get a kill, they can continue the pressure, continue using their range, their poke, and their sustain to their advantage, and just keep complete control of that bottom lane.
See here in the top lane, so it's not really touched on up until now. Darien up to level 6, working his way into that position where, around level 9 he really gets to his strongest level. That bit of an immovable object by then, but so far he's having a good time of it as well. Nigod Bro not really being able to do too much damage to him. Svenskeren been a little bit busy with having to look at the other lanes as well because of that pressure that GMB were putting in on the bottom. But you can see now Kautar and Officio have finally had the nerve to step out a little bit. That Vamp Scepter, a few more pots, giving Kautar that bit of a safety net. But false security can sometimes be a real enemy. Yeah,
we'll see how they decide to play this, because they're approaching that ultimate level right now where they can put the full combo of everything down, get the Stranglethorns, the Buckshot, the Collateral all together. And, you know, with Pharrell playing Diana, if he decides to come down to one of these lanes, either the top or the bottom, it's a great ganking champion. Can dash to a target, can pull them in, slow them with that Moonfall. I think it's about 30 or 40% at the first rank, and it's a very, very powerful combo. Land the slow, get the Zyra, you know, CC down, and you can blow them up. And Svenskeren sets up for the gank.
They're going in. They've managed to get the roots on towards Edward. He will flash away. Svenskeren continues to put that pressure down. Are they going to go under the turret for this one? No. They don't want to risk anything like that, and they managed to stay alive 3-on-2.
They went too early. Neither of them had the ultimates. There was no slam into the ground that Assault and Battery. They didn't have Stranglethorns. They didn't have the Collateral. And if any one of those was available, they probably could have picked up first blood. So just a little too quick on the draw, and it cost them potentially the first kill of the game.
Right now, Diamond on this bottom side of the map as well. He's just taken that red buff away. You can see there, Edward has pretty much healed him, and Genja, along obviously with that Vamp Scepter for Genja, right back up towards that full HP area. So that's just bad news overall for them. They're going to need that help of Svenskeren to get in, which means that he's not going to be able to focus on the other lanes. I mean, Alexic is going to be hard to pin down for him anyway with that Kassadin, but the mobility that Diana has, that Vi even has there, may mean that they have to focus somewhere else to get things going.
Yeah, and you know, it's just this little standoff, this little waiting to see where the pressure gives the most. And the longer it takes, the more damage that the Wolves are actually taking. 20 CS behind in the top lane, you know, 20 CS behind in the bottom lane. And this is against teams that are, you know, champions that are relatively weak early. Kog'Maw is not very well known for having a stellar, you know, laning phase, as we see Pharrell being caught up in the middle lane.
Yeah, we'll see if they can hold him down here. He will fling him actually back towards his own turret, as Shen is coming in here as well. They're going to go in towards Diamond Procs. There is the first blood. Alex got involved in the fight there. He should have probably just left it, and that is 2 kills for Copenhagen Wolves.
So nicely done. They dove in there. They waited for the Stand United. The shield was enough to keep Pharrell alive, and as soon as, you know, Shen landed, got the taunt in there, picked up 2 kills, and that is exactly what the Copenhagen Wolves need. Get that gold lead, get the champions starting to win the lane, but they're going to need to continue doing that. I wonder if Svenskeren can set anything up in this bottom lane, because Genja is very far overextended.
Yep, Edward is actually running away, but as you can see, Genja is the one that's in a little bit of danger from this one. Can they hold in? The roots have got into land. There go the Stranglethorns. Kautar chimes in with the collateral damage to pick up the kill, and, well, they faced so much pressure early on. They were behind on all fronts, but look at it now. They finally gained that gold lead back after taking 3 kills in. There's 1 to Diana, 1 to Graves, and 1 to Shen. It's a great distribution, and Wolves are going to be feeling the confidence.
The Neon Strike vibes. You know, Svenskeren is really strutting his swagger right now. The first gank, not as strong as Pharrell, dives onto Alexic. They trade a lot of damage back and forth, and Pharrell's actually winning this trade. But really good ganks from Svenskeren there, you know, pushing mid lane, immediately going bottom lane, and the overconfidence from Genja costing him his life.
And that's one thing that Alex has really got to watch out for here now. That blasting wand in for Pharrell. He's not got any extra damage himself. Got the Tia, got the Catalyst, obviously working himself up towards that Rod of Ages. But Pharrell has shown already that he's not scared to dive straight in on top of Alexic and get involved with that one. Meanwhile, Svenskeren is headed down towards the Dragon. He's pinged it himself, going to get inside the pit. And Wolves, they're not going to start it off. Actually, he's just going to get himself over the wall. They should realize what's going on now. They've got a ward on that top side, so they wouldn't know really if he was inside the Dragon pit doing Dragon. They came around to cover it, saw that Vi was actually in that tri-bush, and know now that they are safe from a gank at bottom.
Really smart play from Svenskeren again. You know, we've seen this from a number of junglers. Actually, Diamond Procs, and I think it was the very first matchup of the EU LCS. He flashed over the wall at 4 minutes to do a Dragon with his Udyr. We've seen that the Vault Breaker just dashing through walls time and time again to get away from the vision. Godbro's taking a lot of pressure in this top lane, and There's no ignite for Darien, but with a Hemo Plague, it could be enough damage to pick up a kill.
Yep, and look at the CS there as well, 101 to 70. That's a big lead, and as I was talking about, Dragon, Wolves are actually doing it now with Forellenlord and Svenskeren there. Diamond is going to come from the side. Notice that they've started that Dragon off. It's below half HP already. We do have Smite up for both junglers, and it is going to be picked up there by Diana as they engage in on towards Diamond.
He's going to do his best to get away. The Rolling Thunder, he is there. He throws on the ultimate. Those Thunder Claws slamming into the ground, but Svenskeren forced to flash to safety. Going to charge up that Volt Breaker and close the gaps. Forellenlord's gotten very brave. He's dashed in. Double Lunar Rush, but his HP is so low. One more Rift Walk will be enough for Alexic. Wait for the cooldown. Forellenlord goes back in with the shield. The Pale Cascade keeps him alive a couple of seconds longer, but in the bottom lane, Genja blows up Cowtard.
Yeah, Cowtard going down. That's the real danger. We've seen it so often already in the EU LCS that these more unexperienced teams, they have no problem with getting into the lead in games. The problem that they have is keeping that lead and even more, pushing it in towards a victory. And Gambit Gaming just showing their experience and saying, well, we know how it is to be behind. We've faced this situation a million times as a team against all kinds of different play styles, and we know exactly how we're going to come back in.
It was a questionable decision going on to Volibear as well. That was a full health Volibear with his passive most likely available. And, okay, fair enough, Diana has a lot of damage. Vi can put a lot down once she starts proccing those denting blows, but to fully think you're going to burst down a Volibear in a couple of seconds is a little bit brave. So I think chasing him into the jungle was the mistake that they made, and if they can just keep themselves in check, making sure they don't overcommit and knowing when to back away, they can definitely, you know, pick up another kill and start pulling themselves back into the lead as we go into a replay.
Yeah, this is the kill that we missed down in this bottom lane. Obviously, Cowtard went down earlier on. Genja actually got rooted up at the start. Cowtard, though, getting hit by the crescendo, used his barrier, but it just not enough there in the end to finish off, and it was one final blast of the ultimate from Genja that secured it.
I love that. It's such a dramatic play. The living artillery flying down in the very last second. I just keep hearing Zuna in my head, get sniped, get sniped. At the moment, 3-2, Copenhagen Wolves 1,000 gold behind. Svenskeren's going to grab his red buff before trying to set up any ganks, and there was the tower in the top lane going down, so Godbro with a 40 CS deficit, hopefully going to use the ability to stay on his inner turret and find the time to farm.
And if we look quickly down the items here, the Revolver was picked up earlier on by Vladimir with those Sorcerer's Shoes. Now he's got that needlessly large rod in there as well. So Shen, if he wasn't having problems with him before in that top lane, it's going to become even worse for him. Now got that giant spell in there as Edward goes to put a ward down. There are 3 of them there though. Svenskeren going to lock him in, and Edward going to fall victim to that old support rule of just putting a ward down, guys.
Just putting a ward down, and they combo the ultimates perfectly, picking their kill up. Deficio still has his Stranglethorns available. Now, Forellenlord was caught out in the middle lane. You can see that his flash is burned. Just recently got on cooldown. While that fight was happening, it looked as though Diamond Prox had caught him out, tossed him a little bit further backwards, and Forellenlord's going to be a little bit careful in this middle lane now. He doesn't have flash as that little safety barrier. Does have 3 ranks into that cascade, so his shield is looking pretty strong, but luckily with Svenskeren around, Gambit Gaming do not decide to put pressure on that turret.
They know that Diamond actually was coming into this bottom lane as well, and Cowtard and Deficio both backing away. So the kills, again, to look at them, 1 for every man over on Copenhagen Wolves outside of Vi, who, well, picked up an assist for all 4 of them anyway, so not going to be too unhappy with how that one's gone as Forellenlord once again dives in towards Alexic. Alexic actually winning out the fight, but Svenskeren is coming in there as well. Will Forellenlord be able to get away? Yep, he'll stick his shield on and say, not today, mate. You're not finishing me off this time.
Cooldown saved Alexic in that engagement because Svenskeren did not have Assault and Battery. If he could have locked Alex down, it obviously would have been another kill going their way. And with the Copenhagen Wolves spreading the love as far as the kills are concerned, 1 for each of their champions, including their support, it can only help them. The thing is, they need to keep doing this because even though they've got the kill advantage, they're a tower down and they're behind on gold. A lot of their lanes are falling really far behind in CS. I mean, Godbro, a 50 CS lead is immense.
And now they're coming in onto Darien, though, on this top side. Where is that Assault and Battery? Again, not quite up and available. And he just used his pool there underneath the tower as well, so they might have just been able to lock him down for that one. Either way, we've got the Dragon coming up here in 1.5 minutes' time. time. Now let's see who's the first to react to that one. We see the pink ward put down by Deficio. That's going to allow them to clear out the vision that Edward put down a little bit earlier on, as they obviously want to try and get Svenskeren once again into this bottom lane. They both have a killer PC. AD carries Bloodthirster. He's already done for Kautard. Not quite at that point yet, just for Genja. He does have the BF sword and that Vamp Scepter though, and I'd imagine sitting on a decent amount of gold to go home with. Svenskeren is actually coming in now from this backside. Let's see if he can get in for the gank.
The ultimate is available and Flash will be in just a moment. The Vault Break is being charged. There comes the Flash onto Edward. They've locked him down. The Grasping Reach goes knocking everybody up in the air and they just blow up Edward once again. A great gank, a lot of abilities, and you see Forellenor going on to Alex.
Alex having to riff walk away from this one, but can he escape? Gets a slowdown. Crescent Slash will land here. Well, Forellenor not going too deep into it. They know that Dragon is going to be coming up here soon. Vi actually down in the bottom lane is going to be hammering away at Cogmore. Let's quickly jump down there. Alexich will riff walk to safety. But they are actually now on that turret. They've decided to leave Genja alone, and that turret is going to go down. That's the first one of the game for Copenhagen Wolves.
Forellenor's in trouble, though, because the bear comes rolling in. Flippity-floppity around, throws Edward backwards. Stand United comes down, though. We'll see if Shen can turn the tide of this battle. Diamond Prox has been taunted up. The Hemoplague was on Shen, though, so he's going to be taking bonus damage from anybody that's going down. The Volibear passive is ticking over, and his HP is simply going through the roof.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm sure that Diamond really loves about this Volibear, that once you get that health back, it comes thick and fast and keeps you safe. But again, you know, Darian in the top lane, he's just pushing this whole time. Look at that CS lead, 172 to 115. Warmogs is now complete on Shen, though. You see the Abyssal Scepter done for Diana, along with those Home Guard Sorcerer's Shoes as well. Still, Genja's not gone home to complete that Bloodthirster, so I'm assuming he's sat on 1,500 gold at this point in the game. We do have the Locket of the Iron Solari on Volibear as well, who's a good 30 CS in the lead from that jungle time, but you know, Svenskeren has been the one that's really made the impact in terms of the ganks. Yeah,
you know, Svenskeren's ganks have been very powerful. Going to dive forward, doesn't land the Vault Breaker into Edward, though, so forced to back away, and can just see Assault and Battery coming available off cooldown. Edward has been picked on a little bit this match. Svenskeren has really put a lot of pressure and focus into that bottom lane, and it's helping because, of course, that is where arguably their weak link is right now. It's a new composition or new players. They need to gel. They need to get some synergy together as a team, and you can see in terms of the items, the Berserker's Greaves has been completed for Kautard. His Bloodthirst is up as well. He's working towards a Zeal right now. If they can get that heavy burst damage down onto the squishy characters of Gambit, they can definitely pull themselves into the lead.
That's what they need to do, get straight in there to that back, get rid of that Cogmore at this point, get rid of Alexich even as fast as they possibly can. That Dragon, of course, is available for the taking right now. They have a 300 gold lead only for Copenhagen Wolves, despite that 3-kill lead that they do have. The Crescent Strike comes out again. Oh, we still have Dragon. He's still sat there alive. Neither team, up till now, made the move for him. Blue buff is on Forellenor as well. That's going to help him really keep up there with that cooldown reduction as Diamond gets rooted up under the tower, but he's the bear.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be able to tank it. He's got that locket available, so if he needs that damage shield, he's going to throw that onto himself, and of course his passive is going to help out as well. We've only seen one Dragon right now at 21 minutes, which is a little strange because Gambit were doing so well with a very early Dragon control in previous matches here at the LCS, and it's been sitting there for a while now, been up for the last 2 or 3 minutes, and it does look like Gambit are finally trying to put some attention down there. They start roaming down, and as soon as the Wolves show themselves in the mid lane, they decide, nope, the tower is a little bit more important. So we've got this little standoff, and one team is going to decide to try and push for this Drake, and we'll see whether or not the Wolves can hold off the Russian overlords in this battle.
Yeah, it's got to be Wolves. Kautard pushed that bottom lane out, got himself a good amount of farm. Cogmore did go down there, but he's going to be coming back into this one. Vision granted there over on towards Forellenor, and we can see that Diamond running in.
He's dived in there. You can see Svenskeren is forced out of the fight before he can really do anything. Assault and Battery is up on the blue buff. Alexich is going to be the first victim, and Svenskeren is still alive. He's gotten away. Now Forellenor's picked one up as a Diamond Prox. Can he continue the chase, though? Genja was untouched the entire duration of that battle, and Alex with a questionable play coming from behind.
Yeah, coming from behind, which he sometimes can afford to do. I mean, they got Svenskeren super low. I'm surprised that he even survived. As Forellenlord actually flashing over there on towards Darien, picks up the kill. He is double buffed in there as well. And that will be Copenhagen Wolves going 8-2 in the lead. But yeah, I mean, Volibear, we talked about him saying he could take it, he's the bear. But that time, I tell you what, that burst power was just too much for him to handle.
And the problem coming in there for Gambit Gaming is they focused Svenskeren's Vi. They focused the jungler. They didn't really put too much damage into Counthard or Forellenlord until Svenskeren was out of the fight. With Alex coming over from the back line, Svenskeren flashed to safety and then used his ultimate to get even further away from the damage dealers of Gambit. And because he was simply locked down for so long, Alex couldn't close out the kill. He couldn't slow everybody with the Force Pulse and allow his team to collapse on them. So Copenhagen, they pull themselves a notable lead right now. And the question is, can they hold on to it?
Yeah, that is a big question as well. We've seen teams having leads like this before and not being able to turn them into a win. I mean, don't forget Copenhagen Wolves against SK yesterday had them pushed onto their inhibitor turret. They were putting pressure on SK throughout a good majority of that game. They were disappointed in the loss. I'm sure they'll have had a talk about it overnight, but we know they've not got their normal AD carry in here. We talked about how Counthard said earlier that he can only really play Graves and Caitlyn in that bottom lane. Caitlyn was banned, so he only had Graves to work with. But I tell you what, he's not doing half bad with him. He's 3-1-2 right now.
He's playing really well on Graves. He fell behind early on, and you know, just that synergy and the combo of Edward and Genja being able to put pressure on them, really not allowing him to farm safely. He fell about 30 CS behind, but he stayed only 30 CS behind. It's a noticeable difference, but he hasn't fallen further and further and further. With 3 kills, 2 assists, a couple of dragons under his belt, he's doing very, very well in terms of itemization. Actually has a gold lead over Genja, and the Wolves are in a great position right now. Is it too early to be saying, you know, could this be their first win?
Yes. It's too early for that, I'm sorry, but it just is. I have a horrible feeling anyway. But if we look at the gold down that top lane, the almost 200 CS to the almost 140 CS that Vladimir has over Shen, the total is not that big. It's only about 20 gold, actually, that's celebrating them, that's separating them right now. Svenskeren going to get caught out here, but Forellenlord is around there with him. Can they lock either of these down? Diamond going to flip him back over. Here comes Shen, though. This is going to be turned into a 3-on-2. Diamond forced to flash. Counthard is up there on the side. Can they manage to get onto anyone here for this one? Svenskeren realizing that Edward comes across as a crescendo comes in, but they're going to dive down. Edward went very low, but Diamond is the first man to die. Now Darian's in all kinds of trouble. He's going to pull up, but how long will it keep him alive? Not very long. Counthard comes up with a double.
And what a great ultimate from Deficio. He throws out those strangle thorns, completely mitigating movement from anybody. Darien forced to sidestep, stick around a little bit closer. Copenhagen Wolves, they keep the pressure up. They dive onto the Baron. In that fight, though, they did split up. They started picking fights. There was a little bit of mixture in terms of calls, who's going to go where. And if they do that again, they might be in trouble. But can they get this Baron buff before Gambit Gaming can respond?
Well, Alex is hanging around the side there. They will manage to get it. The root's not quite landing, as Genja is going to be in a little bit of trouble. Actually, will pop his ghost to get away from this one. They've got vision onto Negod Bro and Deficio there, but it was Svenskeren who was low on Wolves. They're going to say, you know what, guys, we've done enough work for now. We should really get home and heal from this one and spend the money that we've just picked up after that one. I'm guessing that they're going to have a decent amount on them to go home and spend. We see their Wits End bought by Shen, Locket of the Iron Solari, the second one on the team now for Copenhagen Wolves, is just picked up by Zyra. 1,400 on Graves, 1,350 to spend for Diana as well. So they're going to be coming back even stronger. But again, that question that you posed earlier on, can they still close out the game? That is the hardest part, and something that we've not seen really from one of these underdog teams that have managed to get a good lead. But I said it earlier, Gambit are the ones that have had that upset loss to Giants already. This could very well be number 2.
And you've also got to look at the Gambit composition here right now. You know, you've got the Volibear, melee champion, needs to get really up close and personal to do anything. To toss somebody back, to deal damage, he's got to be in your face. Zyra can completely shut him down. One grasping, even if he doesn't land the grasping root, just get that little slow vine, that slow root, to start applying some auto attacks and completely slow his movement speed so you can kite him. On top of that, you've got this diving combo of Diana, who's 3-1-4, Svenskeren 0-0-8. I mean, I think that was a bad guy in one of the Bond films, if I remember correctly, or not, maybe not. And, you know, Shen 1-0-5. Every time they have these fights, Goldbro just uses that Stand United, comes down on a team member, and they lock down the squishy, you know, champions of Genja and Alex.
Right now, they've just taken that inner turret down in that middle lane, and there's 25 gold just before the pink ward actually runs out of time there. Always a bonus to have under your belt. What items have we seen finished on that last go home? I said that Diana had a decent amount of gold to spend. Rabadon's death cap complete for her. We got a pickaxe added into Cowtard's arsenal here. You know, the test in the qualifiers was really impressive. We were talking about this a little bit on off air earlier on, that the test so far in the European LCS has not really hit that same level that we saw in the qualifiers. And he might not, because if Cowtard plays like this in the next game as well, they might just have him on full time. Well,
potentially they're getting Bjergsen back next week. You know, they've had Forellenlord here, who's now their sub and doing so incredibly well. It's a difficult question that the Copenhagen Wolves will need to answer. Darren is in the bottom lane, and the Wolves are going to try put some pressure onto this inner turret. They take around 30% of its HP away with just a single creep wave there. Good pressure from them, and we'll see how they can handle this next push.
Let's see, that Baron up team is going to be scary going into the team fights. And I'll tell you what, Genja can't afford to be that far out. There's no way that they can allow anything to land on him, because if they get the slightest bit of crowd control onto him, they are going to dive straight for that Kog'Maw. And then Gambit will be in some real trouble. One thing that they're doing a good job of now, though, is making sure that those waves don't last too long and that Wolves can't put pressure onto that inner turret. But Svenskeren waiting off towards the side. They're going to come in once again, get rid of the Gambit wave. And can they get those final few hits off? Dangerous play here underneath that turret. I still think from Gambit, if they get caught out, this is going to be really, really bad news for them in the long run. And guess what? We've got Shen doing what Shen does best, pushing this bottom lane out without the obviously the help of his team. But he has that Stand United. He'll just join straight in there and at the same time force someone to come down, which they've actually took Kog'Maw down there now, which I'm not sure is going to be the best idea.
I definitely don't think that's the smartest of ideas. You can see Svenskeren, they're charging. They know that Kog is not there. We'll see if they decide to dive. He decides to just back away. Hemo play comes out from Darren. I wonder if they're going to chase onto this fight. It was mostly just, you know, a counter initiation, but Darren looks like he's been caught.
Hemo play did go down. We are going to see the Stranglethorns catch Diamond in that one. Darian going low. Here comes the Stand United. Diamond's going to go down. Darian gets rooted. That's 2 kills coming out for Copenhagen Wolves. They're going to be happy already with that one. They took the inner turret. They got 2 kills in the process. As I said, Kog'Maw nowhere near in that bottom lane. It was almost too easy for Wolves.
The question is now, do they stick around too long? Cassidy does have the ability to just dive forward and maybe pick up some kills on any stragglers that are low. Svenskeren wisely backs away. Forellenlord has dropped so low. They get through the Pale Cascade. He's given up a death. They got a bit of damage down, but Genja is going to carry on with this chase.
I don't think that was really needed whatsoever from Wolves. I think they could have just backed away from that, and we can see Genja and Alex Hitch are going to be chasing in, and you're up against a Cassidy, and you can't get away from that one. And there is the shutdown. Actually, a turret did just go down. Where was that one? That was in the middle lane, actually. The outer turret in the middle, and that is the 3rd of this game for Gambit. Their minions actually giving them a helping hand finally in this one. But I think that Wolves should have been happy with what they had. Those 2 kills, that turret taken down. I think they should have just left out completely there.
That's the mistake that they made in terms of when they were playing SK Gaming as well. They didn't really know when to back off. They didn't have that clear call of, look, we've had the advantage, we cannot continue pushing, so I think it's time to back away to safety. I think this is going to be the first Dragon that Gambit Gaming have picked up this matchup, and Genja, as soon as he got into that fight, he does have that Infinity Edge, he does have that Zeal, and he's sitting on nearly 3,000 gold. He tore their HP bars apart, so if Genja's going to be in this next fight, the Copenhagen Wolves need to make sure they lock him down. That needs to be the target, because he's the danger man for Gambit Gaming right now.
Just seen Zeref Sambrace picked up. Oh, the Archangel staff technically, but you know. And again, that's an extra little bit in there for Cassidy coming forward. Baron is up in exactly a minute's time from now. And Gambit have done a great thing here, and that is push this bottom lane out, the furthest lane away from that Baron, which is going to mean someone's going to have to do it. Luckily for Wolves, I say luckily, I mean, they've sent Shen down there. He's the one that can get involved over the other side, even when he's clearing out those other lanes.
And, you know, he's been doing it perfectly this this entire game. Godbro, Shen, his stand Uniteds have been completely on point. I think every single time he's used it, they've led, they've got some kills and they've got a tower on an objective, which is great. And an interesting pickup here from Pharrell Lord in terms of itemization. He's opted to go for the Stinger, so going to work towards that Nash's Tooth, which is great. It synergizes so well with his entire kit. His auto attacks, he's going to get that AoE splash from his passive, faster, and just be able to deal so much more damage and get more shields off in a fight. So it's a great item, and it just shows you how aggressive he's playing. He realizes that he needs to be able to kill one of these carries, and he's building to do so.
You see Svenska in there, just going to be thrown over the top of Diamond's head. Here come the rest of Gambit. We are going to see the Strangle Thorns go down. It's going to knock Darien in the air. Can they get the kill off? Crescendo will fall in. Svenska and quite low. But look at Genja, he's still alive. He'd taken damage, but they've not finished him off. He was still at the back as Alex is going to get locked down as well. Flash away from Shen. Coutard is still healthy. He has to quick draw away. He is very, very low as they pop the Shurelias and try to escape from this one. Smokescreen will slow Edward just about enough, but Alex Hitch not finished just yet. Deficio is going to have to take one for the team.
Deficio goes down. Gambit Gaming have got Cogmore who can shred Nashor apart if they decide to go for this one. And without Svenska in there, the smite's not available to try and steal it. It doesn't look like Godbro wants to challenge this one, so he's decided to back away. And that engagement was the exact problem that they had. They couldn't kill Genja. They tried to lock him down, but Edward shutting that team fight down, stalling it out with the Crescendo, meant Genja stayed alive, and he simply just attacked everybody all the time with that Bioarcane Barrage and was able to almost single-handedly win that team fight with the amount of damage he was putting down.
And that's the problem that they're always going to have here in this scenario with not having the test, with having Pharrell and Lord subbing in for them. Their teamwork's never going to be at the level that it really should be, if you're going to take down a team like Gambit Gaming. And they've done so well up until now. They had that hole, which I think would have been miscommunication, to be honest, to keep pushing onto that inhib turret earlier. They lost 2 kills after it. And then they've just totally messed up that last fight as well. And that's the kind of, inch that you can't give to Gambit, because they will, win a game from that kind of thing.
I also have to give, ask a question about Coutard's positioning in that fight. He was sitting on the other side of the blue buff wall, which meant he could continue attacking with relative impunity from the Gambit Gaming members because he was fairly safe. But it also meant he couldn't kill Genja. Genja was forced so low at the beginning of that fight before Svenskeren was forced out of it and killed. And if Coutard had maybe committed a little bit more, being in a slightly better position, maybe could have closed out that Cogmore and could have turned the tide of that battle.
Yeah, he used his collateral damage really early on in that fight as well, and it didn't really connect like they've been having in those other fights, and it is a big chunk of damage to get out there. Obviously, Gambit now with that Baron buff on, you can see that they're moving eastwards on the map. Godbro in that bottom lane will have to retreat from that one. Gambit getting some wards down as they go through that Wolves jungle, and all of a sudden Wolves find themselves as the team on the back foot. We can see Vi charging up there, but decides to retreat, and they give away that inner turret.
So that almost evens up the turrets 4-5. They're only 200 gold behind right now. That CS advantage just shining through in terms of making up for the global objectives. And with the Baron buff and that really sort of high damage, high committed team, having Castellan going forward, having Volibear, even having Vladimir go in with the Hemoplague, and then just, troll pooling out of it with the Sanguine Pool, of course. It's a very, very good composition that they have, that they can get in, put some damage down, allow the Baron to regen them, and then just carry on fighting.
The gold right now is actually bang on even as well. Come back to that point a minute or two ago. 35 minutes in, Wolves still have the lead in turrets. They've got a good margin on kills there as well, which just shows you how well they've done on the farm side of things. Shen is still a good 60 CS behind, 50 CS for Volibear compared to Vi. Diana obviously does have the lead. There's a 50 CS lead for Cogmore over Graves, as well as we are going to see Svenska move in.
He is going to see if he can line up that Assault and Battery, but decides against it. Was hoping to jump onto Darien, but of course, as soon as that Sanguine Pool went down, they decided against it. Diamond Prox has got that Rolling Thunder on, goes down on all fours and tries to catch somebody, but unfortunately, they're a little bit too quick, the Copenhagen Wolves, and they're able to retreat.
But how far are they going to have to retreat from this one? Are they going to be forced to give up another inner turret, that all-important inner turret in the middle? Alex just waiting off again to the side. Something that we saw Ocelot doing a lot the other day with that Kassadin as well is just coming in from that different angle, trying to catch the team completely off, as we are going to see them hammering away there. Lost about a fifth of his HP currently, that turret, but Genja quite happily will tank a hit from it to get 2 or 3 auto attacks of his own off on towards it, and at the end of the day he can regen that all back up, especially with that Baron buff as well. Dragon's going to be up here in 5 seconds. At this point of the game, it could actually separate the teams in gold finally again, but I'm more interested in having this turret down. Kautard going to get slow. They don't go in. In fact, they do. It was Alex Ich who Rift walks in, puts out the Void Sphere on towards Kautard, and he has to back off.
Yeah, so much damage from that combo. Just lands it, each and every one of his abilities. It forces Kautard away. Kautard was a little bit overextended there. The rest of the team has started to back away, and he decided, he was just staying that little bit too far forward. Alex gets some good damage down, and we're talking about how Alex could go in from the side from different angles and really help turn the tide of a battle. But it did cost him a team fight earlier on by trying to come in that pincer position. So he really needs to be 100% sure of his timing and 100% sure of when to go in with that Kassadin, because he can get locked down by so many different abilities on the Copenhagen Wolves side. And for the first time in a long time, the Gambit Gaming team pull ahead in gold.
Yeah, 55.3 to 53.3, a 2,000 gold lead for them right now. Turrets bang even, kills still much in favor of Wolves. We have 4 kills on the on Diana, 6 for Kautard. He's leading the game in kills right now, obviously playing in that AD carry role, which the test unfortunately today couldn't fill. And doing a fine job of holding in as well. We've seen a Guardian Angel being picked up now on Kog'Maw, and that's going to give so much more to these fights for Gambit, because they know that the likes of Vi and Diana are going to try and jump onto Genja, and then he's going to be able to come back into it again afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. And the problem for the Copenhagen Wolves is they've got a fairly tanky lineup. They've got Shen, they've got Vi, they've even got Diana, who's now got that chain vest, and going to be able to survive a bit of damage, but do they have enough survivability and coordination to not only kill Genja, but then kill him again once he comes back and survive the crescendo, survive the damage from Kassadin, or the damage from the Thunderclaws of that big giant Russian bear as he just tanks this top inner turret and takes it down? It's a very big ask of the Wolves, and the longer this game goes, the more damage this AP Vlad is going to be dealing, along with Cass, along with Kog.
I see Alex Ich looking to steal away this blue buff. We are going to see Vi come in. Can they hold on to Alex, though? Can they hold on to a Kassadin? That's the real problem here. He turns around, unloads onto Svenskron, who's forced immediately down to half HP, and Wolves again completely back away from. They've lost control of their own jungle now, and that's a bad sign.
The scary thing there for Svenskeren as well, that was only a couple of abilities. That was, Tides of Blood, Null Sphere, the Transfusion, and he lost nearly half of his hit points. And that's meant to be the tanky initiator. That's meant to be the champion that can survive this damage that's coming down. But when you look at Vlad, Deathcap, Void Staff, the I don't really know what this Phoenix Codex is going to be built into. We'll see what he decides to upgrade it to. And then, of course, Kassadin sitting, Rod of Ages, Seraphim's Embrace, Void Staff. There's so much magic damage coming down from the two of them combined before Hemoplague is even applied.
Yeah, and that's the danger for them, and especially now with Baron coming up in 13 seconds. They can't really afford to give this one away. We can see that Diana getting that Guardian Angel in there. That's going to at least give them some extra to work with. But can they get in for this Baron? That is the real problem that they've got on their hands right now. And Gambit looking to set up a bit of a trap. They've got good vision with that ward down there. Deficio is going to walk straight in. He's going to face check this one. Hemoplay comes in. Deficio forced to flash away straight over the wall as there comes a crescendo for Ellenlord. Going to have his Guardian Angel pop, but Kautard at the back here is doing a decent job of hammering away at them. Svenskron going low. Finally, we're going to see Shen moving around in the fight, but is this going to be enough? Godbro's going to go very low. Kautard is going to fall here at some point in the end. A double kill, a triple kill even for Alex Ich there at the end. That is an ace for Gambit.
Just no vision at all. They simply walked into it, and a good call from Darren. He drops the Hemoplague as soon as they were in range. Kog'Maw was close by. Everybody else from Gambit Gaming was close enough to close out this match, and with those huge death timers, Gambit Gaming are just going to tank up these last Nexus turrets and finish out the game to put themselves 3-2 in the EU LCS.
I mentioned early on that I talked to Wolves last night after their lost to SK, and they were really devastated that it slipped away from them. And I tell you what, they're going to be gutted that that game went the way of Gambit, who will be equally as relieved, I'm sure, that they didn't suffer their second upset so far of this season. But plenty to talk about in that game. We're going to throw it over to the analysis desk where Demon, Xpeke and Jason are waiting.
Yes, thank you very much. And well, what a turnaround. What a turnaround indeed. For a moment there, we thought Wolves may be going to have it, but this is what we've talked about so many times here at the analysis desk. How many times have we seen these teams, these up-and-coming teams, develop these great leads only to throw it away and not finish the game?
Too many times to count, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, they did it yesterday against SK. They had the lead, then they had that one fight, that one turnaround that gave SK the game.
So, Peke, I mean, is this something you have to work on as a team? You know, when you do develop this great lead, which they clearly had there. They had about 6,000 gold lead. They were pushing on towards the inhibitor turrets, and then you need to take advantage. You know, we've seen teams, we joke about EG, you know, grinding out the results, but once they see they get this a few advantages, then they go, okay, let's just back off and buy. Let's, you know, take the advantage we've got and make use of it.
That cannot happen. Like, you see them happening too much. Like yesterday, they happened against SK. The exact same thing. They were ahead 5k, I think.
Yeah.
And then they just throw it, and ended up losing. Today is the same thing. They had the advantage. They even had a Baron, and they didn't know how to handle it. They kept pushing when they shouldn't have, and then they just throw it, and after that, they finished.
Well, I mean, we saw obviously Giants doing it against yourselves, you know, and I was pretty much alluding to it today. Dragonborns versus SK. I feared the same was going to happen there, but they did actually manage to close it out. And I mean, is this like what a difference really in the level of teams? Is this just that next step up? They need to just realize when they get that advantage, they just have to basically kill the team, you know, be aggressive.
Yeah, I think it's just experience. They are not used to. We have played a lot of games. The professional teams have played so many games, have made that mistake so many times that you know when you have to back, when you have to do what. And I think they don't know that. They just don't have enough experience to know when they should have back and just wait, keep the advantage, and go again.
Well, let's talk about the game. Let's have a look at these replays. And Peke, take us through what exactly happens here. Jason, you're going to run us through this replay. It's about 21-minute mark, and it was really when Wolves were looking good. Yeah,
let's just set up the entire scene for you. It's 5-2 in kills for Copenhagen Wolves. They're up about 2,000, actually, sorry, not 2,000 gold, 200 gold at this point. And this is the big fight that pretty much gave them that lead, that gave them that steam rolling through. So why don't you get you into the game and show you exactly what happens here. And yeah, just walk us through exactly like the whole mindset of what each team is doing and kind of where the big mistake comes.
Yeah, well, right now, Wolves is kind of not caught, but they are doing Baron, they have to back. And yeah, Gambit see it as a chance of going in, which is really good, but I think Alex made the wrong decision going over the wall. After, like, he flashed over the wall now, and what he does is really bad. He used combo the Syra, which is full HP, and he just died completely alone. That's what I meant in the game that Giant fell at. They saw one guy out of position, and they just turned on him and killed him. And Alex pretty much did nothing that fight, and they were able to kill them all.
And you saw just how close it was. He got away with next to nothing, so it almost kind of paid off. But like you mentioned, he went simply with the wrong target. And as an AP, you surely shouldn't be going for the support player.
Yeah, you have one burst, and in a fight like that, you shouldn't use it on the support, because then you have no damage. All he did was burst in the support a bit, and then he had nothing else. He ignited by, but it wasn't enough to get her. So.
And Jason, take us through. We had the next fight, and really it was essentially the turning point. You know, where Dragonborns they'd attacked down the bottom, then they got 2 kills, they stayed too long, they lost 2 deaths, and then it was coming up to the Baron fight, and really in the jungle area they just. You know, this was really where, I hate to say the game was thrown, but essentially it was.
Yeah, that's essentially what happened. So let's set it up for you. It's 12-4 in Copenhagen Wolves. They have a nice 4,000 gold lead. They have 5 turrets to 3. And we're going to get you into the game. And Xpeke, walk us through exactly like where they messed up and where Gambit took advantage of that.
Yeah, this fight they kind of catch Diamond, but you see already they don't do enough damage, so it's not bad to keep fighting because they have the Zen ultimate. But I think now the ultimate from Syra is really good. She hits everyone and forces them to back, so they have a chance of free hitting. I think they should have been able to kill Genja instantly, but they cannot do it. They leave him really low, and Graves should have keep hitting him. I think he should have ignored Vladimir for a second, kill the Kog'Maw, and then just turn into the Vladimir.
Yeah, it seemed like a little bit of a misstep too as well, because they were in the back completely separate and they were overextended.
Yeah, the Vladimir kind of thrown them. He did really good, but I don't know. You cannot let that. Now after that, Genja is alive. If they kill him, I think Grace could have killed them all, probably. He could have gone both deep and just get the Sona now, get the Kasim because he was really low, and even the Bolivar. But the fact that the Koma is there doesn't allow him to go for it, and they're forced to run, and that's it. That's pretty much it. The fight is lost. Yeah,
and Deficio had to take one for the team right at the end, and it was a big kind of misstep right there, because they ended up losing the Baron. Off that, they lost 3 members. It just kind of gave Gambit the momentum they needed to get back in the game.
Yeah, and of course, you know, once there's a Kassadin on your team, as you are well aware, you cannot escape a Kassadin once he's chasing you down. So, to talk about that Kassadin, and of course, on towards the main stage, it is going to be Alexic over there with Shox.
Yes, congratulations, Alex, once again. Now, when you heard that you were going to be up against Pharrell and Lord in that mid lane, was there anything you changed to your tactic going into the game?
We knew that Kautart is playing only 280s. It's Graves and Caitlyn. He's really perfect at them, so we decided that we want to play against Graves better. And Fallen Lord, we didn't check his heroes, but we knew that he won't go something wired. He always plays solid AP champions, so you can pick Kassadin open even without knowing enemy's AP. And Diana, I think, was a really good pick against it, though, because shields are really good against Kassadin because he got some kind of harass. And still, we did a lot of mistakes in the game, and Fallen Lord played really good.
Yeah, in the beginning of the game, you fell a little behind, but it never felt as if you were out of the game. So where did Copenhagen Wolves drop the ball and let you guys back in?
I think the most problem was that we were all the lanes were ahead, except the mid lane. We were even with Fallen Lord. Then we decided to fight to try kill Fallen Lord, and V came, and then Shen ulted. So we died, and I decided to die too for no reason. Then it's the Drake fight. I saw that V already ulted, but he didn't, so I died and threw again. And after that we fell behind, and there was some kind of team fight again, and we didn't see that Genji is not there, so we died again, and we're falling behind and behind. And after that we always knew that if they do one mistake, it's you can't do mistakes against Kassadin and Kog'Maw. These heroes are really good at comebacking, because Genji got a lot of items and he could one-shot everyone until they kill him. And at the base, when they were pushing, he didn't come to us, so 2 of our guys died, but then they were low HP, and Fallen Lord did a mistake. He went a bit far ahead, and then I silenced him, and he couldn't get away, and Genja just one-shot him. And then, you can't run away from Kassadin. And we killed Grace, and Zyra and Shen were low HP, and we just took Nesher, and after that it was kind of decided.
Yeah, you can't run away from Kassadin, that's true, of course. Now, in the first weekend, you suffered some losses. Do you think if you got a chance to play against EG right now, would you beat them?
If we play like we are playing now, at least this game we won't win. But I feel that we can win. It's just some kind of throws that you are doing randomly. Maybe it's because it's hot here, maybe something else. You never know. But I think we actually can win them.
Thank you very much, Alex. Now, after this short break, we'll be back with our last match of the day, Giants versus the Copenhagen Wolves. Stick around. Thanks.